So our next speaker is Associate Professor Marina Ciccarelli. Marina is Autism CRC Project Leader and Associate Professor in the School of Occupational Therapy and Social Work at Curtin University. Marina returned to academia at Curtin in 2000 after 10 years of clinical work in the United States, where she worked in the fields of ergonomics, occupational safety and health, injury management, adult physical rehab and pediatrics. She's presently the discipline lead for occupational therapy at Curtin University. Marina is very passionate about supporting people on the autism spectrum to fully participate in the community and to reach their potential, as we all are at the Autism CRC. To this end, Marina was Chief Investigator in the Better Outcomes and Successful Transitions for Autism Foundational Research and is our wonderful co-leader of myWAY Employability, an online career planner to empower young people on the spectrum to plan and prepare for post-school education, training and work. Marina's here today to talk to us about myWAY Employability and Inclusion Ed and show us particularly how teachers can use these resources to support students in their transition planning. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Marina. Take it away.
Cheryl, thank you so much and good afternoon, everybody. And I'm just going to share my screen with you all now so we can begin this presentation. Okay, I'm coming to you from Perth, Western Australia, and so I'd like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from the land of the Whadjuk Noongar people, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the transition from school to post-school options, whether it be to further study, training, or ultimately employment for young autistic individuals. So just some figures here. 1 in 59 people in Australia are on the autism spectrum, but 1 in 3 young autistic people are either underemployed or unemployed. And less than half of them are engaging in post-school education or training. Sadly, they're 6 to 10 times more likely to attempt suicide or self-harm. And if we look at this from a whole of community perspective and a national employment perspective, that equates to a loss of economic productivity of around $412,000 per person who is not being gainfully employed in people who are on the autism spectrum. So we wanted to do something about this, and so we developed a solution that was based on 5 years worth of research in the development of an online resource. Some of you might be familiar with it. It was the Better Outcomes and Successful Transitions for Autism, or the BOOST-A, which was the PhD project of one of my colleagues, Dr. Mangan, and I was privileged enough to be able to supervise Meg in her research. And as part of her doctoral studies, she identified 5 employability principles, which really are the ones that are underpinning the development of myWAY Employability. And I want to share those with you. And in no particular order, start transition planning early, ideally year 9, but if not, as soon as possible after that. Keeping the young person at the centre of all transition planning and really listening to what it is that they want to do. Encouraging them to dream big, to set their sights really, really high, and not to limit themselves, because sometimes families and supporters want to ensure that young people don't fail, but that can also limit their growth. So really encouraging them to dream big. Focusing on the big picture of what work provides, and that's beyond a paycheck. It's about those social networks and having that valued place in society and understanding their role in the world. And having a champion on the team, and this is so, so important, somebody who will be an advocate for these young people. So our team in the development of myWAY employability, Cheryl, of course, from the Autism CRC has been my co-lead on this, and Brendan James, our digital product manager, but also Adi Wilmot was our research assistant in the development of a lot of the resources. And so we worked very, very closely as a team. And as Peter mentioned, we did a lot of co-production. So Cheryl and I were lucky enough to receive some funding through the Telstra Foundation through their Tech for Good Challenge. And as part of the market validation process and development of myWAY employability, we engaged with 46 autistic young people and about 147 of their parents and supporters. And what we heard from them with regards to what they wanted as a solution is they wanted a resource to assist them in that transition planning that used clear and literal language, that used uncluttered visual designs, was non-patronising in both the content and the language being used, recognised the unique capabilities of people on the autism spectrum, that the content was authentic and relevant to autistic individuals, and that the information being presented really had an autistic perspective. Once we had taken on board all of that feedback and we started to develop myWAY employability, we have continued to co-design through iterative testing and getting feedback from more than 90 young people on the autism spectrum. And these photos are some of the our Autism Youth Advisory group have provided us with really tangible feedback and design ideas. And so we created a website that is uncluttered. It's very easy to navigate through and really can be individualized for each user. It encourages them to explore their interests and their strengths, to create that big sky dream and to start creating some goals, because without goals there can't be action towards achieving those. But also really importantly is to build a team to help them to work towards those goals. And the program also assists them in being able to schedule a regular meetings with their team to ensure that they're making progress through those goals. So I've taken some screenshots because we can't go live to the website, but basically a young person is, or actually don't have to be young, any individual can register a profile, and by registering a profile on myWAY employability, they can start to individualize the content and their progress towards their goals. It encourages them to look at career exploration, identifying their strengths, their sensory preferences around their kind of work environment, looking at post-school employment opportunities or preferences, and considering what life skills they still might need to work on to assist them with that transition to employment. So unlike many other vocational career interest tests, it's not a binary kind of question, do you like banking or do you like agriculture? Instead, young people are asked about the things that they might like or dislike, and they can place those preferences anywhere along that sliding scale. So they can be quite precise about how much they like or dislike something. And each of these generic activities that are quite familiar to all individuals have been linked to John Holland's vocational personalities. So the program is able to provide some recommendations for suitable career pathways to start exploring, but it asks the information in very relevant and accessible language that even a 13, 14-year-old can relate to. Again, it asks them to identify what their strengths might be, because it's not just about harnessing interests, but also the strengths that the young person can bring to the workplace and to a job. And so they can put in whatever they feel that their particular strengths might be. They are also asked about particular life skills, and so of course being able to be independent in community mobility is really important. So perhaps working on driving or coaching public transportation might be one of those life skills that they want to work on to develop their employability. And again, as I said, asking them about some of their sensory preferences for the workplace. Do you want to work on your own or as part of a team, indoors, outdoors, in a quiet environment? Do you want to have a very kind of consistent routine every day, or don't you mind? And so once they also put those preferences in, it starts to further refine the kinds of jobs that might be suitable for them. They're then given a profile about their top career areas, and we felt it was really important that it wasn't just, oh, well, you're very good at this one particular area, because we're all good at different things in different ways. We believe that it's important for people starting to consider what their future pathways might be, to kind of keep options open and not narrow them down. But they can certainly look to see the things that maybe, maybe I fill this out, and maybe that practical thing, those practical skills might not be my forte. And so I might look for career options that really take advantage of my other interests and strengths. The program prompts them to create some goals and some actions towards those goals. It asks them to set some dates and to assign to a team member. And this is where bringing that team that we talked about can be so important. And the young person is encouraged to identify their own team members. It might be a parent, a teacher, a mentor, a family member or a friend, but people that they trust and that can help them progress towards meeting these employability goals and working towards identifying what they're interested in and taking those steps to finding out more about the job, how they might get into it, what kind of training is required, perhaps organising a work experience, starting to write a resume, whatever stage the person might be up to. And there's an opportunity then to review that progress, and it's so important that people see that they're progressing towards their goals. As I said, the involvement of the team is so important here to discuss the progress and to view things not as failures. So if the young person wasn't able to achieve something within a time frame, it might actually be because the goal is too big, and perhaps breaking it down into smaller goals. Or maybe it's not the right time for that goal, or maybe the person needs some further assistance in helping them progress through that goal. But it's about promoting that growth mindset. There's a range of resources on myWAY Employability to help autistic individuals and their supporters in understanding different facets of preparing for employment, starting from doing a workplace experience, perhaps while you're at school, all the way to looking for perhaps courses at TAFE or university, being able to apply for jobs, managing workplace communication and relationships, and then also looking at promotions and moving further. So there's something for everybody along that employment, that journey. And so the articles have been co-produced with a wonderful young journalism student, Alex, who's on the spectrum, and she's again been able to assist us to bring that voice through. And there's an article there on how to be a great team member. And speaking of being a great team member, we believe that teachers are really well positioned to be a great advocate for young people in that transition. And so we developed a series of resources for Educator called myWAY Employability Educator resources. They've been co-designed with my colleague, Dr. Keely Harper-Hill from Queensland University of Technology. And again, these have been co-designed with teachers. And we're doing a trial in terms 2 and 3 of this year with an evaluation component to that, again, to see how we can refine it, make it better. Those employability resources for teachers are on the Inclusion Ed website and are freely available to all teachers. And it's really around that transition planning and how to bring that into the classroom and take it out of the classroom. They've been aligned with the Year 9 and 10 work studies curriculum in the Australian Curriculum Framework, as well as the Year 11 and 12 VET studies, Foundation Skills Certificate 1. And so we've mapped these activities that include lesson plans, classroom practices, homework activities, and like Peter said, they could be done as a whole of classroom activity for the benefit of all children if it's a mainstream classroom, not just for kids who are on the spectrum. And teachers can pick and choose whatever they would like to throughout a semester. There's no set structure. But what we have done is we've provided a range of practices and classroom activities that are linked back to the myWAY employability website. And
Marina, I think we had some technical.
We did.
Sorry.
Don't. No, it was at my end, and my apologies. Don't you just love Zoom meetings and the unpredictability of Zoom? So I just wanted to finish off, Cheryl, just to let people know that those resources are all available on Inclusion Ed. I'm not sure how far you got through my presentation, but they're available on Inclusion Ed. And we want to ask teachers who might be in Queensland, if you are interested in finding out more about the myWAY employability educator resources and have a try of them and give us some feedback, please do so, and we'll make my contact details available in do you want me to pull them up, Cheryl, on my PowerPoint, or?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yep. So I'm just going to share my screen again, and again, my apologies, everyone. I'm going to just, there they are. Sorry, so where I was up to was just letting you know about the differentiation of our resources for students and the various resources that are there. But we're inviting Queensland educators, if you'd like to try out some of those educator resources and give us some feedback. It's a quick 15-minute pre-post survey. And if you'd like to share some of your feedback through a short online interview with us, about 20 minutes, you can contact either myself or my colleague, Keely Harper-Hill at Queensland University of Technology, and our email addresses are there. But so we'd love to hear. Everything we've done, as with Peter, is part of that co-design process. And so we really want to ensure that we are producing materials that are relevant for people. It's what they want, and it's presented in a way that we want. So we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Marina. We would love to hear from you. And if you are actually not based in Queensland, but you still want to have a look at the resources, you can still access them on inclusioned.edu.au. And there's, as with all of our resources on Inclusion Ed, you can always provide feedback anyway. So they'll be trialled in Queensland, but we're also really, really wanting feedback from anyone who's using them.